Hey guys, welcome back to Release the Craftin. Priscilla here with an episode of Storycraft. Can you believe it? I honestly thought that I would not be back in my craft space again until the end of October, like it would be over and I would have missed the entirety of spooky season. But don't worry guys, it's spooky season 24/7, 365 here, so spooky season never dies in the Craftin household. So, at any rate, Storycraft is where I tell you a story and I do a craft. And so here we are. I'm going to tell you a story. And actually, I'm going to tell you the story of Philinnion and Machates. And I'm going to apologize in advance because this is like an old Greek story, but also Roman. And I don't know how to pronounce anything. I looked it up. I tried to see some pronunciations. And guess what? All of the pronunciations were sort of split down the middle on how certain things were pronounced. So I couldn't find like a definitive pronunciation for things, so I'm going to do my best. But you guys, this is supposed to be one of like the oldest written documented ghost stories, so I wanted to share it with you because it's a ride. Also, just going to preface this by letting you guys know that it is written in letter format, so this is someone writing a letter to somebody else. That's how the narrative style is, so just prepare yourself for this. But I'm so excited. We're just gonna jump right into it, and then I'll share all my thoughts and stuff, and maybe some updates at the end if you guys are hanging around for that. I hope you do, because I appreciate your faces when you do. So at any rate, here's the story of Philinnion and Machates. The nurse went to the door of the guest room, and in the light of the burning lamp, she saw the girl, Philinnion, sitting beside Machates. Because of the extraordinary nature of the sight, she did not wait there any longer, but ran to the girl's mother screaming, "Corrido, demonstrados!" She said they should get up and come with her to their daughter, who was alive and by some divine will was with the guest in the guest room. When Corrido heard this astonishing report, the immensity of the message and the nurse's excitement made her frightened and faint. But after a short time, the memory of her daughter came to her, and she began to weep. In the end, she accused the old woman of being mad and told her to leave her presence immediately. But the nurse replied boldly and reproachfully that she herself was rational and of sound mind, unlike her mistress, who was reluctant to see her own daughter. With some hesitation, Corrido went to the door of the guest room, partly coerced by the nurse and partly wanting to know what really had happened. Since considerable time, about 2 hours, had now passed since the nurse's original message, it was somewhat late when Corrido went to the door and the occupants were already asleep. She peered in, and though she recognized her daughter's clothes and features, but inasmuch she could not determine the truth of the matter, she decided to do nothing further that night. She planned to get up in the morning and confront the girl, or, if she should be too late for that, she intended to question Machates thoroughly about everything. He would not, she thought, lie if asked about so important a matter, and so she said nothing and left. At dawn, however, it turned out that by divine will or chance, the girl had left unnoticed. When Corrido came to the room, she was upset with the young man because of the girl's departure. She asked him to relate everything to her from the beginning, telling the truth and concealing nothing. The youth was anxious and confused at first, but hesitantly revealed the girl's name was Philinnion. He told her how her visits began, how great her desire for him was, and that she said she came to him without her parents' knowledge. Wishing to make the matter credible, he opened his coffer and took out the items the girl had left behind, the golden ring he had obtained from her, and the breastband she had left the night before. When Corrido saw this evidence, she uttered a cry, tore her clothes, cast her headdress from her head, and fell to the ground, throwing herself upon the tokens and beginning her grief anew. As the guest observed what was happening, how all were grieving and wailing as if they were about to lay the girl into her grave, he became upset and called upon them to stop, promising to show them the girl if she came again. Corrido accepted this and bade him carefully keep his promise to her. Night came on, and now it was the hour when Philinnion was accustomed to come to him. The household kept watch, wanting to know of her arrival. She entered at the usual time and sat down on the bed. Machates pretended that nothing was wrong, since he wished to investigate the whole incredible matter to find out if the girl he was consorting with, who took care to come to him at the same hour, was actually dead. As she ate and drank with him, he simply could not believe what the others had told him, and he supposed that some grave robbers had dug into the tomb and sold the clothes and gold to her father. But in his wish to secretly learn what the case was, he secretly sent his slaves to summon Demonstrados and Corrido. They came quickly. When they first saw her, they were speechless and panic-stricken by the amazing sight. But after that, they cried aloud and embraced their daughter. Then Philinnion said to them, "Mother and father, how unfairly you have engrudged my being with my guest for 3 days in the father's house, since I have caused no one any pain. For this reason, on account of your meddling, you shall grieve all over again, and I shall return to the place appointed for me. For it was not without divine will that I came here." Immediately upon speaking these words, she was dead, and her body lay stretched visibly on the bed. Her father and mother threw themselves upon her, and there was much confusion and wailing in the house because of the calamity. The misfortune was unbearable, and the sight incredible. The event was quickly heard through the city, and was reported to me. Accordingly, during the night I kept in check the crowds that gathered at the house, since with news like this going from mouth to mouth, I wanted to make sure there would be no trouble. By early dawn, the town assembly was full. After the particulars had been explained, it was decided that we should first go to the tomb, open it, and see whether the body lay on its bier, or whether we would find the place empty. A half-year had not yet passed since the death of the girl. When we opened the chamber into which all deceased members of the family were placed, we saw bodies lying on biers, or bones in the case of those who had died long ago, but on the bier onto which Philinnion had been placed, we found only the iron ring that belonged to the guest and the gilded wine cup, objects that she had obtained from Machates on the first day. Astonished and frightened, we proceeded immediately to Demostratus's house to see if the corpse was truly to be seen in the guest room. After we saw the dead girl lying there on the ground, we gathered at the place of assembly, since the events were serious and incredible. There was considerable confusion in the assembly, and almost no one was able to form a judgment on the events. The first to stand up was Helos, who is considered to be not only the best seer among us, but also a fine augur. In general, he has shown remarkable perception in his craft. He said we should burn the girl outside the boundaries of the city, since nothing would be gained by burying her in the ground within its boundaries, and perform an apotropaic sacrifice to Hermes, Chthonios, and Eumenides. Then he prescribed that everyone purify himself completely, cleanse the temples, and perform all the customary rites to the Chthonian underworld gods. He spoke to me also in private about the king, the events, and telling me to sacrifice to Hermes, Zeus Xenios, and Ares, and to perform these rites with care. When he took and made this known to me, we undertook to do what we had prescribed. Machates, the guest whom the ghost had visited, became despondent and killed himself. If you decide to write about this to the king, send word to me also, in order that I may dispatch to you one of the persons who examined the affair in detail. Farewell. Phlegon of Tralless, 2nd century AD. And that's the end of the story. And I just thought this one was really interesting, particularly in fact that it's so old. It was rewritten to be like widely dispersed by a man named Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, and he'd sometime in like the 1800s. It was the inspiration for his poem, The Bride of Corinth. It shows up in a book called Philinnion of Tralless' Book of Marvels, and is a collected work of like ghost stories and paranormal events and stuff that they collected in there. And so this is thought to be like one of the earliest ghost stories, but it's also thought to be one of the earliest documented cases of vampires because it has one of the hallmarks. This girl died 6 months prior, and then she starts suddenly appearing back in her old house, sort of shacking up for the night with the house guest, Machates. Poor Machates, and she just returns to being dead when she's caught out. And if that's not the most dramatic thing I could possibly think of, it's absolutely a Leo move, so I will definitely own that one myself as a Leo. She drops dead as soon as her parents have caught her in the act of seducing and probably feeding off of her young lover in her own house. It's just wild. And I also, like, poor, like, Machates, like, feeling so destitute over the fact that he's been lying with a dead woman for a couple of nights now, unalives himself, and that's also very sad. Sort of a twist at the end of the story I was not preparing for. But I can only imagine, like, how this story, like, perpetuated by word of mouth, and how, like, widespread it would become. Like they said, you know, a couple people have heard of it, people started crowding around the house, and then by morning, like, the entire city was assembled to be like, what? A dead girl? So, like, I love it. It's a bit of classic literature, really old, from, you know, antiquity, the 2nd century, and it's just some things never change. Nosy people be nosying, and vampires be vampiring. I think it's more likely she was a vampire than a ghost. I think she was getting something out of this arrangement and wasn't just sort of haunting her family for the fuck of it, because why else would she just fall dead when she got caught? Yeah, she absolutely was not planning on being caught. So yeah, that is the entirety of my tale of Philinnion and Machates. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I had wanted to do more spooky stories, spooky stuff for you guys, but obviously a lot of things happened all at once, and so I missed that. But don't worry, I'm going to try to make up for it with Povember. We're going to do some really fun stuff there. I have all the prompts ready to go, so I'll be posting those up soon to give you guys some time to work on it. And yeah, I'm just excited to be back in action, so I hope that you guys enjoyed this story. Let me know definitely what you think in the comments below, and some of the stuff that you would like to see coming up. I think I will probably definitely continue telling spooky stories well into December, just to make up for the gap in time, because it sucks and I really wanted to tell you guys a bunch of fun spooky stories. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me, guys. I'm gonna jump out of here and start working on some more stuff. And also, since I'm already plugging myself, you might as well check out my Patreon, where I'm also doing cool, spooky, witchy, Halloween-y, Samhain type things. So if you want more, it's going to be there. And I'm going to have, like, cool digitals and stuff. It's coming up this month. Cool things happening, regardless of all the struggles. So, I appreciate your faces, guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Happy crafting. Bye!